Hello, beautiful souls, and welcome to the weekly soul revival. This is your weekly intuitive energy reading and sacred guidance to support the revival of your authentic self. And this is for the week of June 16th. When I was tuning into the energy of this week for the collective who watches these readings, I was feeling the essence of coming home to your joy, rediscovering your joy, finding what's blocking your ability to connect with your joy, your natural state of being. And so I'm curious to see what comes through this week as far as that theme goes. As always, we start with a tarot reading. I'm not going to go through the explanation of this every single week, so if you don't really know more details about how I conduct these readings, you can go ahead and look at the previous ones in this category on my YouTube channel. But for those people who are watching on Substack, maybe you've seen this before. So I always start with a tarot read for your energy. These are soul themes that are coming up, the root of your energy this week. There's anything that is coming up for your emotional and energetic body that needs to be witnessed. And then we'll go into a Sacred Rebel guidance card for sources, intuitive guidance for you for this week ahead, how to help you come back into your fragment of source energy and to embody your unique and authentic path forward. But first, we will start by tuning into your energy. And as always, I ask for Spirit to help me be a clear channel to deliver this message to whoever it is meant to find in the divine timing they're meant to find it in. Okay, and we'll go ahead and ask to show me the viewer's energy for this week of June 16th. Oh, that came out fast. Okay. Okay. So immediately what wanted to come out was the reverse 10 of Swords. And this feels like releasing the burdens that you carry. You may have been somebody who has carried a lot of responsibility for themselves and others. And this kind of exhaustion that happens from when we're carrying more than that's even our own responsibility can absolutely lead us to be disconnected from our spirit, our energy, our vitality, which is so key in being able to live and express our joy. When you are carrying the weight of the world, it's really hard to feel lighthearted. And so it feels like this week you may be experiencing kind of that permission slip, if you will, to let go of the burdens. I don't know if you heard that motorcycle. It's going fast. Maybe it's just ripping off of you, you know what I mean? Like maybe this week you're just, it's not even like a slow dropping. It's just kind of this, I'm done. I'm ready. Like, I can't carry this any longer. I make the executive decision to drop this weight, drop this burden, because I do want to connect with my joy. And so this week you may be feeling that drive to just come back to your joy so much that you're just like, I'm ready to let this go because I'm ready to feel light again. I want to feel unburdened again, unbridled joy again. And on the bottom of the deck, where is it? We have strength. And this is just pure self-expression right here. This is pure, just heart-led self-expression, authenticity. There's soft strength in here. You know, with this 10 of Wands here, it's kind of like my spirit is tired of being resilient. We hear that a lot, right? It's like, I like resilience isn't really a compliment anymore. Like, I'm ready to have a soft life. I'm ready to feel gentle. I'm ready for it to feel slow, you know? And that's kind of what it feels like is underneath this, like, dropping of the burdens, dropping of this weight that has been blocking you from accessing your joy or really expressing that joy is coming back into that soft place, that tender heart led place that says, you know, I'm going to be gentle and compassionate with myself. I'm going to let go of what is not mine. I'm going to allow myself to be tender and reconnect to what is truly authentic to me. And I'm going to express that. Let's see. Underneath that, we have the Two of Swords, but underneath that we also have the King of Wands. And so it feels a little bit like part of the blockage has been a little bit of this like indecision energy, a little bit of like, you see how they're blindfolded, right? It feels a little bit like you're torn in two places. Let me see what more of that is. Pulling to the, or splitting to the Two of Cups. I wonder if this has to do with any relationships as well. And splitting to the Star. I'm wondering how much you felt like you can trust in your authentic self-expression when it comes to being around other people. How to be truly raw, raw and open and exposed. You know, when we're really, really vulnerably, authentically ourselves, it is very exposing, especially if it's something you've not expressed, you know, unbridled, just freely, right? And so it feels like a little bit of what some of this blockage to expressing your joy and reconnecting to what is authentically part of what that joy, not only what that joy gets elicited by, but also how it's expressed, how unapologetically it's expressed. Part of that blockage has been a little bit of, I want to say a little bit of like a hiding energy, a little bit of, you know, how is this going to impact the people around me? I'm going to be a little bit indecisive of whether or not like that's really what I want to do, if that's really safe to do. Yeah, and it just feels like right now, like your soul is really calling to feel deeply exposed. Like it's really craving that just bare openness. Yeah. And it feels like there's been some mental anguish around this as well. Like you've carried a lot of, you know, internal battle or agony around not being able to, you know, what we always say is like overthinking is underfeeling. And it kind of feels like when it comes to expressing yourself, you might be a little bit of an overthinker. And part of that is kind of like an indicator that maybe we are underfeeling. Maybe there is something there that is, there's a scared part of us. There's a part of us that is worried about, you know, how the people in our life are going to respond to us when we are fully, unapologetically ourselves. You know, and so, you know, this week as you're noticing yourself wanting to just rid yourself of the heaviness, rid yourself of the responsibility of caring for other people, rid yourself of the kind of blindedness of should I not, should I, you know, letting go of the weight of it all so that you can actually experience that lightness again. Like you may find yourself addressing some of those old wounds that are really the things that have been protecting you from fully stepping into expressing your joy, fully stepping into expressing yourself authentically. And something that I had heard not that long ago was, because, you know, we talk about shadow work all the time. However, we think of like, we go into shadow work to find some of the light again, right? We work through some of the shadows to be able to like find the light within ourselves. However, also when we start to really like find that light and like step into that light, it also illuminates the little tiny shadows that are still trying to drag us down. And that's what this kind of gives. It kind of gives like, you're ready to let go, you're ready to just step in and express your joy, you're ready to just feel authentic in your self-expression and just reconnect with what makes you happy. But as you're stepping into that, there's a little bit of these tugs of the old wounds, little tugs of the shadows that kind of tell you like, I don't know, are you sure you really want to do that? Like, how is that person going to think about it? Maybe you need to carry the responsibility of how that's going to be perceived. There's like these little pockets of that kind of tugging you back down. And I just want to say that's normal. It's totally normal. It's about supporting those parts of yourself as they're afraid of being exposed, afraid of what that means to be judged or not accepted fully. And meet that part with compassion and tenderness and love and acceptance, for it's trying to keep you safe, right? But obviously you are just so ready to let that go. You're ready for that joy to come back online. And so just know if any of that is trying to pull you back down, just give it a moment to honor it, but also communicate with that part of yourself and assist them in letting that burden go, letting that responsibility go, that it's not something that they need to carry any longer. And they never really should have in the first place. But you're here now, and you are going to make sure that you never self-abandon in that way ever again, where you're going to allow yourself to let go of the responsibility of managing other people's reactions or preemptively trying to control their perception of you, and just you're going to allow yourself to be free, authentic, and soft and heart-led in your self-expression. And this feels like a really major like karmic cycle for you. Like even before we started, the world was at the end or at the bottom of the deck, and then right now again it is here even after all the shuffling. So it does feel like there is something you're really like leaving behind with this, something really major emotionally that you're closing out. Any more with that? No. It feels like rest is really key in this too. So allowing yourself again, right? This like, I'm exhausted. So let yourself rest, let yourself play and enjoy. And like, I've been hearing the birdies singing all day. I don't know if you can hear them, but also allow yourself to sing and reconnect to the things that feel restful in your soul, the things that make that energy and vitality just like come back online. But it really feels like this week there's a lot coming through about letting go of burdens and reconnecting with your joy and just being unapologetic in that. That's exciting. I love that. It feels really, really soft. So there just feels like so much tenderness around that theme for you this week. Yeah. I don't know if you can hear that. The birdies are singing. They're singing for you, and there's something just really soft and sweet about that coming back online. So, alrighty, let us get the Sacred Rebel guidance for you for this week. Spirit, show me the Sacred Rebel guidance for this beautiful soul who is coming back online to their joy, letting go of burdens that are not theirs. What Sacred Rebel guidance do you have for them for expressing themselves authentically and coming back into their own unique, authentic self? Let's see. I'm hearing just let it be. That might be part of the rest energy we were talking about, just letting it be. You don't need to force it. Okay. It's interesting. You know, there's how many cards? There's like 50, at least 50 plus cards in this deck. And whenever I do these readings, I consistently get like the same cards for this collective. So it kind of just goes to show that there's definitely a certain theme that's going on with this collective. You know, there are so many cards in this deck that could be pulled, but I keep somehow getting the same ones. So it's so interesting. I don't even feel called for just one. Okay, there's 4 here, but I want to see which one Source feels is the main one this week. Show me which one is the main one. Which one's the main message for them this week? I'm hearing like just let live. Just let live. Is that right? We're hearing just be and just let live. Just kind of. Wow, this is just. It's interesting. It hasn't ever taken this long. Wow, interesting. Okay. I'm gonna have to do a different route for this one today. Okay. So this week we've got inspiration. And just so you know, the other ones that came out that we've gotten all 3 of these before in this collective reading. However, this one was at the bottom of the deck, and so that's the one we got for this week. But the energy that's like surrounding this overall is trust yourself, receiving, and Pandora's gift. We've gotten all 3 of these before, some multiple times. I believe receiving we've gotten multiple times. And then we got inspiration here, right, as the main message. Thank you for bearing with me, by the way. That one was a little bit of a slow reveal. So there's a few things coming through with this. So remember how before we were talking about how there was a little bit of that indecision, a little bit of not trusting yourself, a little bit of blinding yourself. Should I not? You know, what maybe has led to you holding some sense of responsibility that isn't yours and managing other people's reactions. But like there is that strong message of like, trust yourself, trust your instincts. 1919. Okay, that's a number for you. But there feels like how do I say this? Like your kind of wild instinctual self is coming back online. And part of that too is like not knowing how that's going to be perceived. what we see a lot in our society are people who repress their own authentic self. And so when they see a person outside of them expressing themselves unapologetically, they project the shame and judgment and rejection of their own self-expression onto that person who is a mirror to it. Right? We see that a lot right now, especially with communities, in the LGBT community, where people are judging of why do you have to be so flamboyant about that? People really judge how free and self-expressive they are. They judge of why they are so loud and proud, and they are so expressive of their authentic self. And the people who judge that, the people who shame that, the people who want to dampen and dim it down are the people who are just showing how they meet their own self-expression. My favorite quote is that judgment is a confession. Because the way you judge other people is just confessing where you judge yourself. So think twice about it when you judge somebody, because you're making it very blaringly obvious where you judge yourself. So in this, trust yourself to express yourself. If people judge that, if people don't understand that, that's okay. It's not for them. And honestly, it's one of those things where you are giving somebody an opportunity to feel triggered in their own ways of like, where do I not self-express enough? Man, they seem like they're really enjoying that and really expressing that wild, raw, authentic part of themselves. Makes me feel weird. You're giving them an opportunity to actually, you're like triggering that shadow awake for them, triggering that repressed part of themselves to come up so they can actually look at it and integrate it one day. And that's not any of our business, though. That's not your responsibility, remember? Not your responsibility. But it's just something that happens. And so you can either, self-abandon yourself and not trust yourself to express yourself fully, just to rob somebody of that opportunity to find that hidden, rejected, repressed part of themselves. Or you can stay with yourself, love yourself, express yourself fully, and offer an opportunity for another person to be able to contact that lost, repressed part of themselves, the part that they may see in you. And part of that is also, this Pandora's gift, right? It's like we think of Pandora's box. We think, oh gosh, it's what are we unleashing in the world? But it's truly a gift. There is an unmasking here, right? So unmask yourself, right? But also like this mask is also with like beautiful butterfly wings and bird wings. And there's so much here about, taking off the glass ceiling. It's like taking off the limits in which we put our own self-limitations, our own self-constraints on our self-expression. And by you expressing that, even though it might seem like a Pandora's box situation when it shakes up other people or what have you, it's truly a hidden blessing. It's truly a hidden gift. And it's something that is going to allow you not only to access that sense of freedom and no self-limitations, but you're also going to inspire, back to the main message, inspire other people to do the same. And when you're being your authentic self, when you are trusting yourself, it's much easier to kind of sit back and receive. When we're masking, when we're taking on responsibility for other people, when we're doing all this kind of energy, there's some kind of force or will we're exerting, and that's not a receptive type of energy. And so, this week when we were talking about rest and kind of just letting it all go, we are leaving room, for more receptivity. We're leaving room for you to allow yourself to enjoy and take in, And so I hope you've been doing those little things we've talked about the little ways you can receive. When I was hearing the just be, just let live, it just feels like stop trying so hard. Just Just let it be. Just let yourself live. Let life live, literally, right? And while I was sitting here, and it was taking a while to come out, the breeze was coming through, the birds were chirping, my incense blew right in my face. And it just was this moment of like, all right, surrender. No cards are coming out. Let me just relax into this. Let me just enjoy this fresh air, the sounds of the birds singing, the incense just wafting in my face. Like, let yourself live, and part of that is receiving these little things, right? The littlest of joys throughout the day. But in that, when you're in that receptive energy, when you are allowing yourself to be trusting in how you express yourself, when you allow yourself to, meet those little shadowy parts we mentioned when you're expressing yourself in your light, and realize that those things aren't a curse or, a bad thing being unleashed on the world, but it's actually a beautiful gift. It's the way we access our golden shadow, right? Of like all the hidden gifts to our self-expression that we have long lost because they were pushed and cast off into the shadows. When we reclaim that part, and again, we inspire other people to do the same. We come back into this energy of like this glorious, abundant, sweet, just that's what stuff is made of. You know what I mean? Like that's what inspiration is made of. That's what creativity is made of, right? Your vitality, right? And we can't express and give from that place if we are empty from not being able to receive it, from not being able to express it abundantly from this place that is just like, it's that, okay, how do I put this metaphor into words? This image. Okay, so imagine your soul as a cup, okay? When you are being yourself, when you're not self-abandoning, when you are trusting yourself, when you're expressing yourself fully, when you are never denying your intuition, when you are practicing your ability to, make space for rest and joy and the things that fulfill your soul authentically, when your spirit is full like that, it's a full cup. It's overflowing because you're still making time to receive the things. You're not doing anything that blocks it and cuts it off from its power. You're not draining it of anything. You're not letting it go dry and so that there's nothing here to give and express and inspire. There's a plentiful amount of this cup in your spirit because you're not blocking yourself from it. You're putting it first, you're prioritizing it, you're nourishing it, you're filling its cup so that there's so much more to give. And therefore you inspire so much, right? But it's the things that we do that block us off from that spirit, right? It's when you take on responsibility for somebody's feelings when that is not your job. When you don't trust yourself to lead in a certain way because you undermine your intuition. When you fear that expressing yourself authentically is going to lead to people not understanding you and shaming you or judging you. And so then you choose to self-abandon it and you don't express yourself. You don't want to be that vulnerable for fear of what's going to happen. So then you stuff your self-expression back into a box. When you're working really hard, taking on so many responsibilities and never leaving time to nourish your soul, you don't make time for play. You're not doing the things that fill your spirit's cup up. So now it's depleted and dry and like there's nothing to give. You're not even receiving anything. Your soul has been cut off from its source point. So there's nothing there to give, and therefore you can't inspire, and then you can't feel that joy that you want to feel because you're directly cutting it off in so many ways. So really, like, think about how to stay with that spirit of yours, how to nourish that soul of yours. Stay with that. If anything makes you have to abandon yourself, not trust in your instincts, not nourish yourself, if there's anything that asks you to take on something that's not yours, all these things, then the cost is too damn expensive. Okay? What's really meant for you would never ask that of you. It would never ask you to deplete your soul, to not nourish yourself, to self-abandon, to not trust your instincts. What's meant for you will never ask that of you. And if you're being presented with that opportunity any day, any time of the day, and any opportunity, in any relationship, stay with yourself. Stay with your soul. Stay with what feels aligned in your spirit. Trust yourself of what feels aligned, and you'll know when you'll feel a yes, you'll feel when you feel a no. And that's something to experiment with. Okay? For me, I like to practice this with little things, right? Like, for example, I'm sitting in a chair right now, right? So I'll ask myself, am I sitting in a chair or am I sitting on a bed? And instantly, how it reads in my body is when something's a yes, it'll be this tiny light yes that comes up kind of from the back of my head up to the forefront. And it's just like a light yes, instinctual light yes. When something is a no, it feels like something drops into the pit of my stomach. Like, no, it's a dropping energy and it's in my stomach. No. So practice it with little things like, am I inside? Am I outside? Am I wearing green? Like these things that are very obvious and basic. Practice doing that with what feels like a yes, what feels like a no. Because that is your spirit letting you know, that is your intuition that speaks from your soul's guidance. What's a yes, what's a no? And if you ever have a point where something's a no, there's something there. You might need more information. You might need to just speak up your truth a little bit. You might just need to make sure that a part of you knows that you're not self-abandoning and considering yourself depending on what you're taking on. 3131. So that is some guidance that's coming through for you when it comes to how to stay with your spirit, not burden it, not abandon it, and come back into a place where it's truly self-expressed, truly authentic to you, so that you can notice what's a yes, what's a no, so that you don't directly cut off your spirit from its nourishing point where it no longer is expressing itself as a gift. It's not trusting itself. It's cutting itself off from receiving something from that which is nourishing to it, sustaining to it, so that you'll let those yeses lead and you'll honor when those no's come up, and you will navigate with it with self-trust, with receiving what nourishes yourself, with honoring that you are a gift, even if it triggers or elicits things in other people. That is okay. It's just part of what happens. We are all mirrors to each other, but it doesn't mean you are wrong. It doesn't mean that you can't trust yourself. It doesn't mean it's your responsibility. And in that, when you don't cut your spirit off from those things of not trusting yourself, not self-abandoning, not capping or dimming your self-expression, you are going to be somebody who inspires. You're going to inspire other people to do that. And also, that is all what this strength card is about too. Leo energy. Hey, I'm a Leo, so I'm biased, but Leos are all about that. It's about self-expression, being the light, being the sun. It radiates on other people, and it shows people the warmth of what self-expression can feel like when they truly express it from the outside. There's even this kind of glowing energy there too. Like, this is going to be your aura with people when you are just unbridled joy, unbridled self-expression, just unfiltered, unapologetic. You be authentic because you're not cutting yourself off from your source, from your spirit. All right. That's it. That's the end. Okay. Thank you for being here, beautiful souls. Thank you for your patience with that one especially. It felt like it took a little while, but I love you, and I hope you have a beautiful week, and I will see you next week.